Hey guys, welcome to Cactus Jerk. So today I'm in my office because it's raining, it's super cold. I do not want to do watering when it's so cold because it can cause problems with seedlings expiring, fungal infections becoming worse. So right now everything is reduced to cleanup, a little bit of cleanup here and there, moving plants around. But it was just too cold this morning. So we are doing a video from the office and we will discuss flowering and we will discuss improving the flowering. So because I've got comments this week, just a few about flowering specifically, and I want to take a moment to talk everything through that I've shown in the videos, in the Cactus of the Day videos and all, because this is a good method to get plants to flower. And what I'm showing you over the next months and already started in March is very effective. I've walked through the collection and checked the large plants, the tall columnar species that have problem flowering here. And they are all flowering, or at least most of them are flowering, and the ones that aren't look like they will still produce some flower buds later when the heat comes in. So it has become very obvious to me just by walking around in the last days that what I'm doing here is it's exactly how I wanted it to be. And I feel like therefore we can take a moment to talk everything through without haste and with making some specific mentionings and all that need to be discussed when you're watering a lot. It has risks. For example, any cactus with wet feet is more sensitive to root rot and cold damage. Therefore, on days like this, I have the doors and windows closed. I don't want the temperatures to go so low. I have no problem when night temperatures go below a certain range, but at some point the temperatures become not really unsafe, but they promote other stuff. Lots of problems that you do not want. Before the video, I just want to say I will talk about stuff that I wrote about in my book. I restocked in the shop a few, so get them. And I only want to do 1 or 2 shipping days a month. And so it's good when I can ship something out in 1 week and then move on to the flowering again, because I do not have time in summer to do a lot of shipping. So let's discuss stuff from my second book, from my hybrids book, because the hybrids book was actually also including a large practical part that also came from part 1. We just couldn't bring all that practical information into the book. So I put something into the other book because it's also about breeding hybrids. You need to get them to flower to breed. So I felt like it's essential. And generally speaking, let's start at the beginning. March 15th is my watering time, when I start watering. And they instantly get everything. They get so much water that winter is instantly over. And in the greenhouse, I can do that with the temperatures in the greenhouse. March 15th, we still get a lot of frost. We still get a lot of rain. And the combination of these two things can be very problematic. You can lose plants like that. So I recommend using a greenhouse for this kind of stuff. Also because in my method, the sun is extremely important. I give my plants sun instantly. The morning the sun goes up, the first greenhouse is hit by the sun. And in that greenhouse, I try to get high temperatures early in the season to instantly have them use water so I can water again. I do not want to water plants that do not use it. Watering plants that do not use it leads to root rot. It leads to all kinds of other problems. The plants just do not thrive. So I try to have the temperatures high in the beginning of the season right away. Sometimes when the temperatures change over decades, stuff like this changes. Where I live, we had a lot of hard frost. Moving plants out wasn't possible, but it has gotten warmer and warmer. More rain and less real hard frost. So it is possible to move plants out, and we did this year. We made a little frost project where we experimented, and the consensus was that it's okay for larger plants, for larger frost-hardy Trichocereus, but some seedlings and all grafted plants can often not take it. So moving out early has risks, but some of my friends, some breeders that I know, do it. Moving out very early. So this year I moved out just what I had in the cellar, and I didn't like the outcome. Frost wasn't that big of a problem, but the sun. You just do not have a natural build-up tolerance against sunlight when you move plants from in the cellar. So you need to start shading them slowly over time. And I just do not have the space and time to do it. I rather reduce. I mean, these were plants that were sorted out anyway last year, but I rather sort out even more this year than doing that again, because the shading process takes too much time and effort. When I have them in the greenhouse, they are used to the sun. The sun is hitting the greenhouse is pretty rough, even in winter. You can get massive sunburn in winter, all that stuff, and therefore a greenhouse is necessary also to produce the high temperatures early in the season. I really make sure that in the morning the doors are closed, the windows are closed, until the temperatures go up into an unsafe range. But everything towards 30 for a large plant that doesn't have flower buds yet, it's not that problematic. You can always lose plants. Everything I tell you, everything you learn here has risks. Life has risks. You go out, you do something, it introduces you to a whole new set of risks that you didn't think about before. And every environment is different. So you will have the problem that some of the stuff that I do couldn't be replicated exactly at a different setup. So you always need to take a close look at your setup. Think about it. What do I need to change? Because some of the stuff here is a little bit different. We get more rain. We get maybe a few degrees colder in spring. And that can be the difference. So yeah. Let's say you have a little greenhouse and it doesn't take much. I learned that the hard way. I don't know. I got a cheap greenhouse and it was trash. Not total trash, but it wasn't good. It was $500, and that was already one of the better ones that I knew about at the time. And this greenhouse is good enough to produce the heat. It's good enough to overwinter. It's not very tight in regards to insulation, but it works. So with just a few $100, you could get a greenhouse, a used one, for example. Especially high quality premium greenhouses, sometimes older people sell them because they cannot care about their cacti anymore, but you need to pick it up. So you have the unique chance to get a great greenhouse for cheap, but you need to constantly monitor the market every day, 10 times a day, because a good greenhouse is sold within a few hours or minutes sometimes. So yeah, greenhouse, and I recommend the better insulated the better it is, because it keeps drip water away. Drip water in summer isn't the problem, but in winter it is. And yeah, then you can get these higher temperatures. You prolong the season. You prolong the season in spring because they are already in the greenhouse early, getting sunlight in January sometimes. And you can prolong the season at the end of the season because you can keep them out longer. when you would have to move them into the house, then you would not be able to leave them out so long. So yeah, that's a big thing. Watering, I start watering March 15th, and I water at least twice a week. Fertilizer, I am a believer that you should not use too much fertilizer. Of course it helps short term, but long term you create weak plants. So I give low dosage of fertilizer, but repeatedly at the beginning of the season. So my main watering is between March and July, August, around that time, and the watering gets reduced every month. So a lot of water in March, April, May, and then I turn it back. I do more targeted watering, looking for plants that do need it. So at the beginning of the season, I try to establish a baseline. That's what I call it. I want to get all my plants to the point when I could drop and they would still flower the whole season. And you can achieve that by giving them all the energy, water and reserves they need at the beginning. And then later when it gets hot, they are not so dehydrated, because if you have plants and you let them starve, which can induce flowering, but then the heat comes. So you have starved plants that already do not have enough nutrient, enough water, all that stuff, and they dehydrate more. So even if you have flowering and successful pollination even, they can drop the flowers very often. That happens a lot because heat during fruit formation, at some point if the plant is stressed, it makes a decision: should I prioritize my own health or the fruit? And I don't have to explain what it will do. It's similar when you graft something and the cyan is on top and everything gets dehydrated and all. At some point the cyan is dropped, discarded. And yeah, so water and fertilizer early, but not too much fertilizer. I use a fertilizer that is high in P and K. Nitrogen is extremely important. You need it, but you don't need so much of it for flowering. I see a lot of people growing cacti like vegetables, and this is yeah, I mean they become weak. They have too much nitrogen in the tissue, in the skin and all, and it's bad for everything. You create a plant that is more sensitive to all kinds of noxes like sunlight, all kinds of problems like fungal infections. So overwatering, let's get to overwatering. You need to be careful about them not splitting the plants early, because that can happen, and it can happen to rare plants too. But with the way I water and all, small pots that have good drainage, so that the excessive water goes through again, and that helps to keep the risk of splitting relatively low. Yeah, okay. What else? Temperatures in winter, I like to, when my plants get a little bit of frost. For one, they do not etiolate, and they also do get scared a little bit. You kiss them on the head and remind them that flowering might be important to survive long term. But I do not want to have my plants get frost damage. There's a big the range between these things. It can get close. So and you often do not know how well this plant will take it exactly, because there are different species that we have in our greenhouses and all take it a little bit differently. So yeah, cold temperatures in winter. My greenhouse temperature is 1 degree Celsius. That's just above freezing. I don't know what it is in Fahrenheit, but just not freezing. Okay, and you could turn the temperature down a little bit, but then you run into problems with a few of the more rare species that you have in your greenhouse. For example, if you grow a Rauhocereus somewhere in the greenhouse, or Lobivia, Echinopsis are very frost tender sometimes. And if you grow these along Trichocereus, then that's going to be a problem. I lost a Hageocereus in spring when I moved out. I should have not taken out the Hageocereus. Trichocereus, no problem, especially candicans when the frost is only maybe -5 Celsius. But that's absolutely the limit where I would cover them instantly. -4. Once it goes to -5 outside, when I move out already in spring, then I cover them once it goes below. So not too cold, not too warm. You don't want them growing. You don't want them using up reserves in winter, because there's no chance that they will grow a fruit. I hate winter fruit. They are often empty. So yeah. And so you water them every week early. Also the smaller ones, the seedlings and all. But with seedlings you need to be careful about root rot. Seedlings are very sensitive, especially when they have problems with fungus gnats or root mealybug, that stuff. I hate them. And once you start watering seedlings a lot, you instantly bring out maybe an older infection that thrived, that didn't completely take over winter, but the moment the plant gets water, this whole thing is fueled. So you need to be careful about not overwatering your seedlings when you are watering everything. Similar like the large plants, the flowering plants and all. When I start watering early in the season, I first water the seedlings and the grafts, because they are most sensitive to drying out. And then I move to the bigger plants that all need water for flowering. So, okay. Nighttime temperatures, daytime temperatures. I said that in another video. It helps sometimes to have cold night temperatures and warm daytime temperatures. That's just how it is in nature. And you can replicate that by opening the windows at night, as long as it's safe, as long as there's no frost. And close them again in the morning to give them a little bit of heat. But it cannot be hotter than 30 degrees Celsius, or you risk heat death. And yeah, a little bit of more heat is not that big of a problem short term, but long term, the moment you have the temperature in the greenhouse for a day or two at over 30 or more. I mean, a lot of plants are grown in countries that get very high temperatures, and they deal with it. They get used to it. But it's also about making the plants, hardening them up slowly over time. And when you have a plant that hasn't gotten so high temperatures and suddenly it gets them, it can be over very fast. Okay. Yeah, I just think that plants need a lot more water to flower and grow fruit than many people give them, especially the large ones. You gotta see this as a little treat, and at least as a little brush. And how much water they need in nature when they flower and produce fruit. They need a lot. And with this method that I use, everything flowers pretty early. I try plants to get to flower within 3 years, and it is a very realistic approach sometimes, but the larger ones, the columnar cacti, just take longer to flower. With these I take more time, but if you really push them, if you graft early, let's say you grow a seedling in winter, graft it in spring, get it to a size where it survives the winter, then you can get it to flower within 2 or 3 years. But you need to push it hard, and pushing is always risky. So it might not be needed. Sometimes it is safer to take a slower approach. So yeah, that is basically, these are the core principles, how I do things. And I move plants around early in the season. I will post another video in 2 days, which I already posted in the members in the supporter section, on moving plants around. I moved a lot of plants to the top shelf. Top shelf is something that I use a lot. I use the shelves that I have, and I have some shelves. I just do not have them in greenhouses where I feel like it could block too much light. But I use shelves, and I will be using more shelves in the future. So everything that gets the plants a little bit closer to the sun, to the roof and all, that's a good thing, and I recommend it. But you need to be aware of the fact that everything that's below will be in shade. So you create a better spot at the top, but you also create a worse spot below. It gives you more space, because otherwise you would only have one spot, right? But everything that's below, it's not such a good spot, and you will be careful about not losing too many plants to fungal infections and all. Especially in winter, then you have humidity, then you have weeds growing in a greenhouse, creating more shade, all that stuff. So you need to be careful. You need to create open spaces for flowering. Flowering needs light. Bring in the light. Look at your environment and decide what can I change to bring in more light. Because sometimes we have an environment, we build a greenhouse, and we always leave it like it is, without learning from the way the sun hits it, the way the sun moves during the day sometimes. And that's also when you build a greenhouse. You need to look at the spot very carefully. No trees around. The sun, ideally it gets sun directly in the morning until the evening when it moves around from the other side. So these kinds of spots you need to build a greenhouse at. And keep it free. Keep it free of weeds at the base, because shade from below, especially difficult for the ones you have below the shelf. And light from the top, so important. Okay, I want to look into my book again, in case I wrote anything that I haven't said already. But I think that's basically the core thing. Making sure plants have nutrients, making sure they have water, making sure they have sun. This is nothing special. This is just the general principles of growing plants, but we approach it more aggressively when it's about flowering. And not everyone cares about flowering, so just take it slower. You see what's possible, you know what's possible, because I show it in my videos. The amount of flower buds that we got within just 1 or 2 weeks is insane. And there will be more updates about the flower buds, just the flower buds. But for now, I'm waiting for better light. Greenhouse is pretty dark today. It has been raining and raining and raining. So yeah. Okay. Repotting, pot size. One more thing. I like to use small pots, and I've shown a flowering plant this week. It has such a pot, yeah, and it's a large columnar Trichocereus that has 4 flower buds. Okay, so this method works. It works in small pots. Small pots I like to use because they dry fast and you can water again. You do not have a plant that stays wet for months, or let's say 2 weeks, because then you have an instant problem. You have an instant risk for root rot. So small pots, they drain fast. Small pots, they just store enough nutrients, but not so much that the plant becomes an obscenity. The moment you put a plant in a big pot, it will prioritize pot size, because roots are important for plants. They ground them. They give them all they need. Without roots, they cannot live. So therefore, the moment a plant feels that it's in a big pot after being in a small one for a long time, it will instantly prioritize root growth. And that is good for plants that are planted out, all that stuff. I would love to plant my cacti out. I do not prefer to have them in small pots, but I have to do it like this because my grow space is so limited, and because the temperatures are so weird, low humidity problems and all, that I need to adapt my whole watering and all to the environment. So yeah, you can put them in larger pots, but it wastes more space that isn't absolutely necessary for breeding, and the plant might not flower for years. I repotted my large Trichocereus validus that I got when I got it. I got it from a classifieds ad, and I had to do a lot of things to get it. It was very difficult. I had to book like a transport agency and all to get it where I live. It was from other part of the country. So it came without soil. I looked at the roots, and there was no soil. It was just roots in a pot that had soil maybe 20 years, or I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, okay? So, and it flowered. It flowered like crazy, yeah? The pot was way too small, but it flowered. And the moment I put it, I had this huge clay pot that I had from a nursery closing where we got a lot of pots. And I put it into this huge pot, and it stopped flowering. It hasn't flowered since. Last year I took the tip off, and the tip started flowering. The moment it was off, it's stress. Stress is a good indicate, it brings plants to flower sometimes, because they notice they need to do something to survive. They aren't sure if they can survive the being removed from the main plant. They will grow roots, but in nature, very often a plant that broke off, it will not heal because it rains on it, rot, animals eat it. So yeah, flowering might be a good survival strategy for a plant like this. And yeah, therefore they start flowering. So the tip had flowered again, or started flowering, and eventually last year it ran out of water, because I stopped watering when my marriage broke. But overall it would have been able to flower. Maybe we'll get flowers again this year, but I do not see it on the large validus, because it still has room. It still has root room to grow, and it will fill out the pot eventually. So sometimes it's not a bad thing to have plants in a somewhat smaller pot. Don't overdo it. Even I reward plants that I like, that have proven to be reliable for me. For breeding, for example, that are great for breeding. And then I put them in a large pot, and then I risk that they might not flower for a year or two. But long term, it is the right move, because then you have a large flowering plant in a big pot that will eventually, after some time, flower again, and that is worth it sometimes. But when you are just trying to make your crosses and do not want to have huge plants, smaller pots are still an option. It's not impossible to grow in small pots. In the future, I will experiment more with organic fertilizers, so we will do all these tests together. My channel will be mainly for education here, and that we will do all the things together. So we will discuss all that in practice, in the field, so to speak. But now we've had a little talk about that on a rainy day, and I hope it helps. I feel like I'm growing into my pot. I'm growing into my video existence and into my new video life, and I'm just happy that you are all here. Tonight I got so many comments, just people saying nice things, appreciating that I'm still here, and I and it got close last year. Let me tell you that. So, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to do these videos. Of course, long term I will try to find ways to grow this channel into something that can pay the bills and all. So I now have like this supporter area, and if you can support the channel, please do so. I appreciate it. I also have Patreon at patreon.com/cactusjerk. And yeah, books at trichocereus.net. They're not in the shop all of the time, but I always tell you when I restock. So it's restocked now. And yeah, but I will be able to film the whole year. And if I'm lucky, maybe longer. I'm not sure. But I will try to film for as long as I can stand. For as long as I can walk. My leg is killing me right now. Yesterday, I'm walking through the garden-like house. I might actually walk with a cane if it continues to be like that. But I will do it. And because I have vision now. I never had it before. I just did my stuff. I posted my stuff on Facebook, on Instagram, and the algorithm hated me. My cactus stuff. Nothing would be shown to people, and I would get so frustrated and worn out. But now I just think, you know what? If these platforms do not want to show this amazing content, then that's on them. That's their problem, you know? So now I just I do the content that I believe in, that I want to show, that I want to see on my channel. And it's since I do that, I succeed. Since I do that, I go viral. Tonight, I looked at the numbers of the YouTube videos, and they are going up like never before. And I'm so proud. I'm proud to still be here. I had such a dark time. But I don't know. I saw this as a challenge. As a challenge to finally take this channel that I have, that has so much potential, that always had it, and believe in it, and not give up. So we will do this thing until the end. Not sure if I always have the time, but this will go on now. I'm full-time doing videos now, and I want to make use of it. This year we will do comparison videos, and I will do videos. I'm experimenting with videos about identification, putting photos and all that stuff. But we will see how it goes, right? So how much time I have with the flowering, and how my health is. Because my health isn't good. I basically had to learn to talk again. And it's getting better every video. But I had a phase when I couldn't talk. When I just had this stiff mouth. And now I'm slowly, every video gets better. I've gotten my voice back. And I will reclaim the rest of it too. So yeah, welcome to this channel. We will do this together. I'm proud to be here. Thank you.